Jake Morrison had been living on Relay Station 12 for 3 years. The station floated in space near a small moon called Desert Prime. It was a place where different alien species came to talk, to trade, and sometimes to fight. Jake was a commander, one of the humans sent by Earth to keep peace and help with business between the stars. His life was simple and boring most days. He woke up, ate breakfast in the mess hall, signed papers, attended meetings, and went to sleep. Sometimes there were problems. 2 aliens from different worlds would get angry at each other. A traitor would try to cheat someone. A drunk would break a chair in the bar. Jake handled these things with patience. He was good at his job, but he often felt alone. He had no family on the station. His parents were back on Earth, old and happy in their small house. He had never married. There had been women, yes, but none who made him want to stay. So he stayed with his work instead. He told himself it was enough that all changed on a cold Tuesday morning when the alarm started screaming. Jake ran to the command center. The screens showed a ship coming toward the station. It was moving slow and strange, like a wounded animal trying to walk. Smoke poured from holes in its side. The metal was burned and torn. "What is that?" Jake asked. Captain Lisa Grant, the woman in charge of the station, looked at the screen with hard eyes. "Valari transport ship. They are asking for help. Their life support is failing." Jake knew about the Valari. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They were a peaceful species, tall and thin with blue skin and large silver eyes. They were known for their beautiful art and their great libraries. They had no army, no weapons, no desire to fight anyone. They also had no home anymore. The Keth Dominion, a cruel empire of warriors, had destroyed their planet 2 years ago. The Valari who survived became refugees, wandering from station to station, begging for shelter. "Open the docking bay," Captain Grant ordered. "Get medical teams ready. Morrison, go help with the evacuation." Jake ran. The docking bay was loud and full of smoke when the Valari ship finally landed. The doors opened with a painful screech, and the refugees began to stumble out. There were maybe 100 of them. Old ones walked with sticks. Young ones carried bundles of cloth that held everything they owned. All of them looked tired and scared. Jake moved through the crowd, helping where he could. He gave his shoulder to an old male who could not walk alone. He carried a box of medicine for a young female with bandaged hands. He spoke soft words to everyone, even though most of them did not understand his language. Then he saw her. She was standing near the back of the ship, holding a small child against her chest. Her blue skin was darker than the others, like the color of a deep ocean. Her silver eyes were wide with fear, but also with something else. Strength, Jake thought. She looked like someone who had seen terrible things, but refused to break. The child in her arms was small, maybe 6 or 7 years old in human terms. She had lighter blue skin and eyes that seemed too big for her face. She was shaking like a leaf in a storm. Jake walked toward them slowly, not wanting to scare them more. "Hello," he said in the common tongue, the language most species used to talk to each other. "I am Jake. I am here to help you." The woman looked at him. Her eyes moved across his face, studying him. "You are human," she said. Her voice was soft, like music. "Yes, I am Lissa. This is my daughter, Mira." The little girl turned her head to look at Jake. Her silver eyes locked onto his face, and for a moment, she stopped shaking. Then she spoke, her voice barely louder than a whisper. "You are human." "I am," Jake said. He knelt down so he was at her level. He had learned long ago that children were less afraid when you did not tower over them. "Humans are kind," Myra said. She spoke the words like she was reading them from a book. "Humans protect." Jake did not know what to say. He had heard that the Valari told stories about humans. Some species in the galaxy feared humans because they were strong and fierce in battle. But the Valari seemed to believe something different. They believed humans were good. He was not sure they were right. Humans had done terrible things in their history. Wars, slavery, cruelty beyond measure. But humans had also done beautiful things. They had crossed oceans to save strangers. They had given food to enemies. They had built hospitals and schools in places that were not their own. Maybe both things were true. Maybe humans were both terrible and wonderful. "I will do my best to protect you," Jake said to the little girl. "I promise." Myra stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out her small blue hand and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his warm skin. "Okay," she said. "I believe you." Lissa made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a cry. "Come, Myra. We must go to the medical bay." Jake stood and offered his arm to Lissa. She hesitated, then took it. Her hand was light on his sleeve, barely touching, as if she was afraid he might disappear. They walked together through the busy docking bay. Around them, humans and aliens worked side by side, carrying the wounded, passing out water and food, speaking words of comfort. It was chaos, but it was also beautiful. So many different species, all trying to help. "Why do you do this?" Lissa asked as they walked. "Do what?" "Help us. The Valari are nothing to you. We have no money, no power, nothing to trade. Why do humans always come when others are suffering?" Jake thought about the question. It was a good one. The galaxy was full of species who only helped when they could get something in return. But humans were different. They had been that way for as long as anyone could remember. "I do not know," Jake said honestly. "Maybe it is because we remember what it is like to suffer. Maybe it is because we know that today it is you, but tomorrow it could be us. Or maybe we are just strange." Lissa smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it changed her whole face. She became beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with her blue skin or silver eyes. She became beautiful because she was brave enough to smile when her world had ended. "I think you are wonderful," she said quietly. "All of you." They reached the medical bay, and Jake helped Lissa find a place to sit. A human doctor named Sam Perry came to check on them. He was a young man with kind eyes and quick hands. He looked at Myra first, checking her arms and legs and listening to her heart. "She is fine," Sam said. "Just scared and tired. She needs food and sleep." "Thank you," Lissa said. Jake knew he should leave. He had other work to do, other refugees to help. But something kept him standing there, watching as Lissa held her daughter close. "I will come back," he said, "to check on you." Lissa looked up at him. "You do not have to." "I know," Jake said, "but I want to." He walked away before she could answer. His heart was beating fast, and he did not understand why. He had helped hundreds of refugees before. He had spoken to thousands of aliens. None of them had made him feel like this. There was something about Lissa and her daughter. Something that called to a part of him he had forgotten existed. The part that wanted more than work and duty. The part that wanted a family. Jake shook his head and pushed the feeling away. He had a job to do. The refugees needed food, shelter, medicine, hope. He could not waste time thinking about one woman and her child. But even as he walked back into the chaos of the docking bay, he could not stop thinking about the way Myra had touched his face. The way she had said, "I believe you." He had made a promise to protect her dot, and Jake Morrison always kept his promises. The days after the Valari arrived were busy and hard. There were not enough beds for everyone. There was not enough food. The station had been built for a few hundred workers, not for 100 extra refugees with nowhere else to go. Jake worked from morning until night. He helped set up extra sleeping mats in the cargo bay. He talked to the supply ships and begged them to bring more medicine. He sat in meetings where people argued about what to do with the Volari and where they should go next. But every evening, when his work was done, Jake walked to the refugee quarters. He told himself it was his duty. Someone had to check on them. Someone had to make sure they had what they needed. But the truth was simpler. He went because he wanted to see Lissa and Myra. The little girl was always waiting for him. She would sit near the door of the small room her mother had been given, watching for his face. When she saw him, her silver eyes would light up, and she would run to him with her arms open wide. "Jake!" She would cry. "You came back." "I told you I would," he would say, picking her up and holding her against his chest. Lissa would watch from the doorway, her expression hard to read. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes she looked sad. Jake did not understand her moods, but he was learning. Volari showed their feelings in small ways. A tilt of the head, a change in the color of their skin, a movement of their long, thin fingers. 1 week after the refugees arrived, Myra asked Jake a question that changed everything. "What is ice cream?" She asked Dot. They were sitting on the floor of her room. Jake had brought a tablet with pictures of Earth, and Myra loved to look at them. She had already asked about oceans and mountains and dogs and cats. But this question was new. "Ice cream is a food," Jake said. "It is very cold and very sweet. We eat it when we are happy, or when we are sad, or when we just want something nice." "I want to try it," Myra said. Jake laughed. "I do not think we have ice cream on the station. It is hard to keep things frozen in space." But that night, he went to the officers' mess and asked around. It took him 3 days, but he finally found a man named Danny Cole who worked in the kitchens. Danny had a secret freezer where he kept special treats for himself. He had one small container of chocolate ice cream. "I will trade you for it," Jake said. "What do you have?" "I have a bottle of Earth whiskey. The real kind, from Scotland." Danny's eyes went wide. Real Earth alcohol was rare in this part of space. It was worth more than gold. "Deal," Danny said. Jake took the ice cream and walked to the refugee quarters. It was late, and most of the Volari were sleeping. But Lissa was awake, sitting in the corner of her room, reading something on a small screen. "Jake," she said, surprised. "Is something wrong?" "No, I brought something for Myra." He showed her the container. Lissa did not understand what it was, but she woke her daughter anyway. Myra rubbed her eyes and yawned, then saw Jake and smiled. "What is that?" she asked, pointing at the container. "Ice cream," Jake said. "You asked about it. One found some." Myra's eyes went so wide that Jake was afraid they might fall out of her head. She took the container with both hands, holding it like it was made of glass. Jake showed her how to open it and gave her a small spoon. The first bite made her freeze. Then her face changed. Joy spread across her features like the sun rising over a mountain. She made a sound that was half laugh, half cry, and took another bite. "This is the best thing I've ever eaten," she said with her mouth full. Ever. Jake laughed. Lissa laughed too, a real laugh, full and warm. It was the first time Jake had heard her laugh like that. "Thank you," Lissa said when Myra had finished the ice cream and fallen asleep with the empty container still in her hands. "You did not have to do that." "I wanted to," Jake said. She asked about it. "I wanted her to know what it tastes like." Lissa looked at him for a long moment. Her silver eyes seemed to see right through him, into the parts of himself he tried to hide. "You are different from other humans I have met," she said. "How so?" "Most humans are kind, but they are also busy. They help, and then they move on. You keep coming back." Jake did not know how to answer. The truth was that he did not fully understand himself. Something pulled him to this room, to this woman, to this child. It was not something he could explain with words. "I like being here," he said finally. "With you and Mira. It feels like home." Liz's skin changed color slightly, becoming a deeper blue. Jake had learned that this meant she was feeling something strong. Happiness, maybe. Or something more. "The Keth destroyed our home," Liz said quietly. "Our beautiful planet, our cities, our libraries, everything. My husband died trying to protect us. He held them off so Myra and I could escape." "I'm sorry," Jake said. "For 2 years, we have been running. From station to station, ship to ship, always one step ahead of death. I did not know if we would ever feel safe again." She paused and looked at her sleeping daughter. "But here, with you, I feel something I thought I had lost forever. What is that?" "Hope." Jake felt his heart beat faster. He wanted to reach out and touch her, to take her hand and tell her that everything would be okay. But he was afraid. Afraid of what it would mean. Afraid of what he was feeling. "I should go," he said, standing up. "It is late." Lissa stood too. She walked him to the door and stopped, her hand resting on the frame. "Jake," she said, "the Volari have a story about humans. Would you like to hear it?" "Yes. Long ago, when the first Volari explorers traveled to distant stars, they met many species. Some were cruel. Some were cold. Some wanted only to use us for our knowledge. But then we met the humans." She paused, her eyes distant, as if she was seeing something far away. "The humans were strange. They fought wars among themselves, terrible wars that destroyed whole cities. They had a history of cruelty that made even the Keth seem gentle. But when they saw us, when they saw that we were peaceful and had nothing to offer them, they did something no other species had ever done." "What?" Jake asked. "They invited us to dinner." Jake blinked. "That is the story? They invited you to dinner?" Lissa smiled. "You do not understand. In the galaxy, power is everything. Species help each other only when they can gain something. But humans invited us to their table when we had nothing to give. They fed us. They talked to us. They treated us like friends." "That does not seem so strange," Jake said. "That is because you are human. You do not see how rare it is. How precious." Lissa reached out and touched his arm, just for a moment. "When the Keth came for our world, 17 species in the Galactic Concord refused to help us. 8 wanted payment we could not give. But humans came with ships full of food and doctors and soldiers who asked for nothing. We could not save your planet," Jake said, shame filling his voice. "No, but you saved many of my people. You gave us places to live. You gave us hope." Liz's eyes were bright with tears. "And now you bring my daughter ice cream because she asked about it. Do you understand why I feel hope when I look at you?" Jake did not trust himself to speak. He simply nodded. "Go now," Lissa said gently. "Sleep, but come back tomorrow. I will." He walked away into the quiet halls of the station. His mind was spinning with everything she had said. He had never thought of humans as special. He had grown up knowing all the bad things his species had done. The wars, the pollution, the greed. But maybe the Volari saw something that humans could not see in themselves. Maybe, in the middle of all the darkness, there was also light. Jake returned to his room and lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought about Lissa's smile. He thought about Myra's joy when she tasted ice cream. He thought about the word Lissa had used .hope. For the first time in many years. Jake Morrison felt something stir in his heart. Something that had been sleeping for so long that he had forgotten it was. There. He was not just helping refugees anymore. He was falling in love, and that was the most terrifying and wonderful thing that had ever happened to him. 3 weeks passed on Relay Station 12. The Valari refugees settled into their new life as best they could. Some found small jobs helping in the kitchens or cleaning the hallways. Others spent their days in the library, reading and remembering the great books of their lost world. Children played in the cargo bays, their laughter mixing with the hum of machines. Jake visited Lisa and Mira every day. It became his favorite part of each day, the one thing he looked forward to when he woke up, and the last thing he thought about when he went to sleep. He brought gifts when he could. Books about Earth for Mira to read. Fabric in bright colors that Lisa used to make clothes. Small treats from the mess hall that made them both smile. The other humans on the station began to notice. They saw how Jake's face changed when he talked about the Valari woman and her daughter. They saw how he rushed through his work so he could have more time with them. Some of them smiled and said nothing. Others teased him gently. "You are in love, my friend," said Captain Lisa Grant one morning. They were standing in the command center, looking at the stars through the great window. "I do not know what you mean," Jake said. "Yes, you do." Lisa smiled. She was older than Jake, with gray hair and lines on her face that showed years of hard work and hard choices. "I have been watching you. You light up like a lamp when you talk about them." Jake did not answer. He did not know what to say. "There is nothing wrong with it," Lisa continued. "Love is rare out here. When you find it, you should hold on to it both hands." "She is Valari," Jake said quietly. "I am human. We are different species." "So what?" "I have seen stranger couples in my years. Love does not care about species or skin color or anything else. It just is." Jake thought about her words all day. He thought about them when he was working. He thought about them when he was eating. He thought about them when he walked to the refugee quarters that evening. Myra was sitting on the floor when he arrived, looking at pictures of Earth animals on the tablet he had given her. She looked up when he entered and smiled her big, bright smile. "Jake, come see. I found an animal with a very funny face." Jake sat down next to her and looked at the screen. It was a platypus, a strange creature from Australia with a duck's bill and a beaver's tail. "That cannot be real," Mira said, shaking her head. "You are playing a joke on me." "It is real," Jake laughed. "We call it a platypus. It is one of the strangest animals on Earth. Why did your planet make such a silly thing?" "I do not know. Maybe the universe has a sense of humor." Myra laughed. It was a beautiful sound, full of joy and innocence. Jake felt his heart grow warm. They looked at more pictures together. Mira loved the elephants because they were big and gentle. She loved the dolphins because they lived in water and could jump high. She loved the dogs because Jake told her they were loyal friends who never left your side. "I want a dog," Myra said seriously. "Can you get me a dog, Jake?" "Maybe someday," Jake said. "When we are not on a space station." Mira nodded as if this was a very important promise. Then she tugged on Jake's sleeve and leaned close to whisper in his ear. "My mom likes you. Please be my dad. Human." Jake's whole body went still. He stopped breathing. His heart stopped beating, or at least it felt that way. He looked at the little girl's face, at her huge silver eyes filled with hope and love, and he did not know what to say. "Mira." Lisa's voice came from the doorway. Jake looked up and saw her standing there, her blue skin turning purple with embarrassment. "We talked about this. You cannot just ask people to be your father." "But you said he was kind." Myra protested. "You said he was the best person you ever met. You said you wished he would stay with us forever." "Myra." Lisa said the name quietly, but there was weight behind it. The kind of weight only a mother could put into a single word. Myra's lower lip began to shake. "I just want a family again, Mama. I want to feel safe." "Jake makes me feel safe." Lisa closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked like she was carrying the weight of all the stars on her shoulders. Then she opened her eyes and looked at Jake. "I am sorry," she said. "She is just a child. She does not understand." "Lissa," Jake interrupted. He stood up slowly, his legs feeling weak and strange. "I think we should talk." Mira looked between them, her eyes wide. Lissa nodded once. "Myra, go to Aunt Sarah's room for a little while," Lissa said. "The adults need to speak alone." Myra wanted to argue. Jake could see it in her face. But something in her mother's tone told her this was important. She walked out of the room with her head down, looking back over her shoulder at Jake before she disappeared into the hallway. The room was quiet after she left. Jake and Lissa stood facing each other, the space between them feeling like an ocean. "I did not tell her to say that," Lissa said. "I swear, I never asked her to." "I know," Jake said. "But is it true? What she said about you?" Lissa's skin changed color again, that deep blue that meant strong feelings. "Jake, please, I need to know. Is it true that you wish I would stay with you forever?" Lissa did not answer for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice barely louder than a breath. "Yes, it is true." Jake felt something break open inside him. Something he had been holding tight for years and years. All the loneliness, all the empty nights, all the times he had told himself that his work was enough. It all fell away, and he was left standing there, open and raw and more afraid than he had ever been. "I have been alone for a long time," he said. "I told myself I did not need anyone. I told myself that love was a weakness, that it would only slow me down. But then I met you and Mira. It took a step closer, then another. Every day, I wake up thinking about you. Every night I go to sleep wishing I was here. You and your daughter have become the most important people in my life, and I do not even know how it happened." Lissa's eyes were shining with tears. "Jake, you are human. I am Belari. Our species are so different. I do not know if this can work." "Neither do I," Jake admitted. "But I want to try. I want to wake up next to you. I want to help you raise Myra. I want to build something with you, something that lasts." He was standing right in front of her now, close enough to touch, close enough to see the tiny lights that sparkled in her silver eyes like stars. "I love you," he said. "I love your daughter. I want to be your family, if you will have me." Lissa stared at him. The tears in her eyes finally fell, rolling down her blue cheeks like rain. "My husband has been gone for 2 years, she whispered. "I thought I would never feel this way again. I thought that part of me died with him. But you brought it back. You brought hope back." She reached up and touched his face with her cool fingers. It was the same gesture Myra had made when they first met. But this time, it meant something different. Something more. "Yes," Lissa said. "Yes, I will have you. Mira will have you. We will be a family." Jake pulled her close and held her. She was taller than him, and her body felt different from a human's body. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the warmth of her, the smell of her hair, the sound of her heart beating against his chest. 2 hearts. Belari had 2 hearts. He would have to remember that they stood there for a long time, holding each other, letting the universe spin around them. Jake did not know what the future would bring. He did not know if they could really make this work. But for the first time in years, he was willing to try. "We should tell Myra," Lissa said finally. Jake smiled. "I have a feeling she already knows." They walked together to the door and opened it. Mira was standing right there in the hallway, her ear pressed against the wall where she had clearly been listening to everything. "I knew it," she shouted, jumping up and down. "I knew it! I knew it! I knew it!" She threw herself at Jake, and he caught her, lifting her up into his arms. She wrapped her thin blue arms around his neck and held on tight. "You are going to be my dad," she said. You are really going to be my dad. I'm going to try, Jake said. I promise. Mira pulled back and looked at him with those big silver eyes. I believe you, she said, just like she had said on the first day they met. And Jake, holding his new daughter in his arms and looking at the woman he loved, finally understood what the Valari meant when they said humans were kind. Thought it was not about the big things. It was not about the wars or the heroes or the great deeds. It was about this. Choosing to love. Choosing to stay. Choosing to be a family when the whole galaxy said it should not work. That was what made humans special. That was what made them wonderful. Jake spent 2 weeks in the medical bay of the Constellation. The doctors told him he was lucky to be alive. 7 shots from Keth weapons should have killed any human. But Jake's body was strong, and his will was stronger. He refused to die. He had made promises, and he always kept his promises. Lissa came to see him every day. She would sit by his bed and hold his hand, her cool blue fingers wrapped around his warm ones. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just sat in silence, watching the stars through the window. Myra came too, whenever the doctors allowed it. She was not patient like her mother. She would climb onto Jake's bed and tell him everything that had happened that day. She had made friends with a human girl named Emma. She had learned to play a game called chess. She had tried something called pizza and decided it was almost as good as ice cream. When can you come home with us? She asked one day. I want to show you the room we have. It has a window that looks at the stars. Soon, little one, Jake said. The doctors say I need more time to heal. Doctors are too slow, Myra said with a frown. I will tell them to hurry. Jake laughed, and it still hurt, but less than before. He was getting better. Every day, he was getting stronger. On the 15th day, Admiral Peter Hayes came to visit. He sat down in the chair next to Jake's bed and looked at him with serious eyes. Commander Morrison, he said, I have some news. Good news or bad news? Depends on how you look at it. The Admiral pulled out a tablet and handed it to Jake. Earth has made a decision about the Valari refugees. Jake looked at the tablet. His eyes went wide as he read the words on the screen. We are giving them a planet, the Admiral said. New Velar. It is on the edge of human space. Good climate, plenty of water, room to grow. The Valari will have a home again. That is. Jake did not have words. That is incredible. It was not easy. Some people on Earth wanted payment. Some wanted to keep the planet for human colonies. But in the end, the Council decided that the Valari had suffered enough. They deserve a chance to start over. Jake felt tears in his eyes again. He seemed to cry a lot these days. Maybe that was what love did to a person. There is more, the Admiral said. Earth needs someone to help the Valari build their new world. Someone who knows them, who they trust. Someone who can be a bridge between our species. You are asking me to go with them? I am asking if you want to be the human ambassador to New Velar. It is a big job. You would have to leave the military. You would have to live on an alien world for the rest of your life. The Admiral smiled. But I have a feeling that will not be a problem for you. Jake looked down at the tablet again. Ambassador to New Velar. A whole new life on a new world with Lissa and Mira. Yes, he said. I accept. 3 months later, Jake stood on the surface of New Velar for the first time. The planet was beautiful. The sky was a soft purple, and the sun was larger than Earth's sun, giving everything a warm golden glow. Mountains rose in the distance, covered in forests of silver trees. A river flowed nearby, its water so clear you could see the bottom. All around him, the Valari were building. Not fighting, not running, not hiding. Building. Homes and schools and libraries. Gardens and playgrounds and meeting halls. They worked together Humans and Valari side by side, creating something new from nothing. What do you think? Lissa asked. She was standing next to him, her hand in his. I think it is perfect, Jake said. It is not much yet, just bare bones. But someday, it will be beautiful. It is already beautiful, Jake said. Because you are here. Lissa laughed and pushed him gently. You are too romantic, human. You married a romantic. What did you expect? Yes, they had married. A simple ceremony on the constellation, with Admiral Hayes performing the ritual and Mira throwing flowers in the air. It was not a traditional Valari wedding or a traditional human wedding. It was something new, something that belonged only to them. Jake Morrison was now Jake Morrison of the Valari, and he had never been happier. Myra came running toward them from the building site. She was taller now, growing fast as children do. Her blue skin was darker, like her mother's, and her silver eyes sparkled with energy. Dad! She shouted. Come look! I grew a flower. Jake let go of Lissa's hand and walked with his daughter to a small garden patch near their home. There, in the middle of the alien soil, was a single red rose. An earth flower, blooming on a Valari world. How did you do this? Jake asked, amazed. Dr. Sam gave me seeds before we left the constellation, Myra said proudly. He said roses are special on Earth. They mean love. Jake knelt down next to the flower and touched its soft petals. It was such a small thing, one little rose in a whole new world. But it meant everything. I am going to grow a whole garden, Mira announced. So everyone will know how much love is here. I think that is a wonderful idea, Jake said. Lissa joined them, wrapping her arm around Jake's waist. Together, the three of them looked at the rose, at the building site, at the mountains and the river and the purple sky. We did it, Lissa said softly. We found a home. We did more than that, Jake said. We built a family. Mira reached up and took both their hands, connecting them together. I always knew we would be happy, she said. From the first day I saw you, Dad, I knew. How did you know? Mira smiled. Because you are human, and humans are kind. Jake looked at his daughter, at his wife, at the world they were building together. He thought about everything that had happened. The attack on the station. The battle with the Keth. The long weeks of healing. The even longer journey to this new planet. None of it had been easy. None of it had been simple. But it had all led here, to this moment, standing in the warm light with his family. You know what the Valari say about humans, Jake said. That we choose compassion. Again and again, we choose compassion. It is true, Lissa said. Maybe, but I think it is more than that. Jake pulled his family close. I think humans choose love, even when it is hard, even when it does not make sense. We choose to love the people who need us, and that makes us strong. That sounds right, Myra said. Love makes everything better. It does, little one. It really does. 3 years passed. New Velar grew from a dream into a reality. Cities rose from the ground. Fields of crops stretched across the plains. Ships came from all over the galaxy, bringing visitors who wanted to see the new Valari home world. And in a small house on a hill, Jake Morrison woke up every morning next to the woman he loved. Lissa was beautiful in the morning light. Her blue skin seemed to glow, and her silver eyes were soft with sleep. Jake watched her breathe, feeling his heart fill with something too big for words. You are staring again, she murmured, without opening her eyes. I cannot help it. You are worth staring at. She opened her eyes and smiled. After 3 years, you would think you would get tired of looking at me. Never. Not if I live for 100 years. From down the hall, they heard the sound of Myra singing. She was almost 10 now. No longer a little girl, but not quite a teenager. She was learning to play a Valari instrument that sounded like a harp mixed with rain. She was also learning human songs, mixing them together into something new and strange and beautiful. "She is so much like you," Lisa said. "She is Valari," Jake said. "She is stubborn and brave, and she never stops believing in people." "That is human. That is you." Jake smiled and pulled his wife close. "I love our life," he said. "So do I." Lisa kissed his forehead. "Thank you for staying. Thank you for choosing us." "There was never really a choice," Jake admitted. "From the moment Myra tugged my sleeve and asked me to be her dad, I was gone. My heart was already yours." They lay together in the morning light, listening to their daughter sing. Outside, the sun was rising over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. Somewhere in the city, humans and Valari were working together, building and growing and living. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy, Jake thought. Not weapons or technology or power. Love. The simple, stubborn, endless ability to love. Humans protect. Humans care. And sometimes, when they are very lucky, humans get to be dads. Myra burst into the room without knocking, as she always did. She jumped onto the bed between her parents, nearly knocking the wind out of Jake. "Good morning," she announced. "I made breakfast." "Well, I tried to make breakfast. The eggs might be a little burned." "Eggs are better when they are crispy," Jake said, making her giggle. "That is not true, Dad." "Of course it is. I am a human. We know everything about food." Lisa laughed and shook her head. "You know nothing about food. You burned soup last week. That was a learning experience." They all laughed together, the sound mixing with the morning light and filling the room with warmth. Jake looked at his wife and daughter, at these two people who had come into his life and changed everything. He had never believed in fate. He had never believed that the universe had a plan. But looking at them now, he could almost believe that some things were meant to be. A little girl tugging on his sleeve. A whispered question. A choice to stay and love. Always love forever. The happiness lasted for 3 days. 3 beautiful days where Jake woke up with a smile on his face. 3 days where he held Lisa's hand as they walked through the station. 3 days where Mira called him Dad, and he felt his heart grow bigger each time. On the 4th day, the Keth Dominion came. Jake was in the command center when the alarms started screaming. The screens filled with red warnings. Ships were coming out of hyperspace. Big ships with weapons that could tear a station apart. "How many?" Captain Lisa Grant demanded, running to her chair. 6 warships, answered the officer at the scanner station. His voice was shaking. Keth Dominion. Heavy class. Jake's blood went cold. The Keth had found them. The same monsters who had destroyed the Valari home world had followed the refugees here, to this small station in the middle of nowhere. "We cannot fight them," Lisa said quietly. "We have 3 small patrol ships and a defense system that has not been updated in 10 years. Then what do we do?" Jake asked. Lisa looked at him with tired eyes. "We buy time. We get the civilians to the evacuation ships and hold the Keth off as long as we can." She stood and pressed a button on her console. Her voice echoed through the whole station. "Attention all personnel. This is Captain Grant. We are under attack by Keth forces. All civilians are to report to the evacuation bay immediately. Military personnel, report to your combat stations. This is not a drill." The station exploded into motion. People ran through the hallways, some screaming, some crying, some silent with fear. Jake ran too, but not to his combat station. He ran to the refugee quarters. He found Lisa and Mira already moving toward the evacuation bay with the other Valari. Lisa saw him and her silver eyes went wide. "Jake, what is happening?" The Keth are here. You need to get to the escape ships now." Lys's face went pale, her blue skin turning almost white. "They found us." "They always find us. Not this time." Jake grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the evacuation bay. "I will not let them hurt you. I promise." They ran together through the chaos. Around them, station personnel were handing out weapons and directing people to the ships. Jake saw the terror on every face, human and alien alike. The evacuation bay was filled with ships. Small transports, cargo vessels, anything that could fly. People were pushing to get inside, desperate to escape. Jake helped Lissa and Mira push through the crowd toward one of the ships. "Get inside," he said, lifting Myra up to the door. "Dono, what about you?" Lissa grabbed his arm. "You have to come with us." Jake looked at her face, at the woman he loved, at the child who had called him Dad. He wanted to go with them. Every part of him wanted to climb onto that ship and fly away to safety, but he was a soldier. He had made an oath to protect the innocent. And right now, the innocent needed him here. "I cannot," he said. "Someone has to hold them off. Someone has to buy time for the ships to escape." "No." Myra's voice was sharp with fear. "Dad, no. You have to come with us." Jake reached up and touched her face, wiping away the tears that were falling from her silver eyes. "Listen to me, little one. I need you to be brave. I need you to take care of your mother. Can you do that for me?" "No, no, no." Myra was crying hard now, her small body shaking. "You have to go with her," Lissa said, but her voice was weak. She knew he would not listen. "I will be right behind you," Jake said. "I promise." They both knew it was a lie, but it was a kind lie, the kind of lie you tell when the truth is too painful. Lissa pulled him close and pressed her forehead against his. It was the Valari gesture of deep love, of souls touching across the gap between bodies. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too. Both of you. More than anything." The ship's engines started to roar. Jake stepped back and watched as the door began to close. Through the shrinking gap, he saw Myra's face, her silver eyes huge with grief, reaching for him. "Dad!" She screamed. "Dad!" Then the door closed, and she was gone. Jake stood there for one heartbeat, two. Then he turned and ran toward the weapons bay. The battle was worse than anyone expected. The Keth warships hit the station with everything they had. The shields failed after only a few minutes. Explosions ripped through the outer sections. The walls shook and the lights flickered, and the air filled with smoke and screams. Jake grabbed a plasma rifle and took up a position near the docking bay. If the Keth wanted to board the station, they would have to come through here first. He was not alone. A dozen other soldiers stood with him, humans and aliens alike. Some were young, barely more than children. Some were old, their hands shaking but steady on their weapons. None of them ran. "Hold the line," Jake said. "We hold until the transports are away." The Keth came through the airlock like a wave. They were big, bigger than humans, with gray skin and 4 arms and faces that looked like they were made of stone. They carried weapons that shot green fire. Jake fired. His first shot hit a Keth soldier in the chest and sent him flying backward. His second shot missed. His third shot found another target. Around him, the other soldiers were firing too. The air was full of light and sound and death. Keth fell, but more kept coming. Always more. A young woman next to Jake went down. A hole burned through her shoulder. Jake pulled her behind a crate and kept firing. "Go!" he shouted to the others. "Fall back to the second position. I will cover you." Some of them argued. Some of them tried to stay. But Jake pushed them away, forced them to retreat, to live. He stood alone in the hallway, firing at everything that moved. A Keth soldier got close enough to swing at him. Jake ducked and shot him in the face. Another came from the side. Jake spun and fired, but not fast enough. Something hit his arm and pain exploded through his body. He kept firing. The transports were launching. He could see them through the windows, small dots of light flying away from the station, away from death, away to safety. Somewhere in one of those ships, Lissa and Mira were escaping. Jake smiled. Another shot hit him, this time in the leg. He fell to one knee but did not stop shooting. His vision was getting blurry. The pain was everywhere now. "Humans," a Keth voice growled. "You die for nothing. These refugees are not worth your lives." Jake looked up at the Keth commander standing over him. A massive creature with battle scars covering his face and triumph in his eyes. "You are wrong," Jake said. His voice was weak, but his words were strong. "They are worth everything. And as long as one human stands, you will never touch them." He raised his rifle one more time, and then he was falling. Jake woke up in bright light. For a moment, he thought he was dead. The light was so white, so pure, that it felt like heaven or whatever came after life. Then the pain hit him, and he knew he was still alive. Dead people did not hurt this much. "Easy," a voice said. A human voice. "You are safe now. Try not to move." Jake blinked and the world came into focus. He was lying in a medical pod, the kind used on military ships. Tubes ran into his arms and machines beeped all around him. A face appeared above him. An old man with gray hair and a uniform covered in medals. "Commander Morrison," the man said. "My name is Admiral Peter Hayes. You are aboard the Earth battleship Constellation. The station—" Jake croaked. His throat felt like sand. Destroyed. But the evacuation ships got away. All of them. Your people held the Keth long enough. Jake closed his eyes. Relief flooded through him, washing away some of the pain. "The Valari refugees," he said. "There was a woman and a child. They are safe," Admiral Hayes said. "They are on this ship, actually. The little girl keeps telling everyone that her father is a hero." Jake felt tears in his eyes. He did not try to hide them. "Can I see them?" "Not yet. You were shot 7 times, Commander. It is a miracle you are still alive. The doctors need to finish their work. But they are safe? You are sure?" The Admiral smiled. It was a kind smile, the smile of a man who had seen many wars and many heroes. "They are safe. I spoke to them myself. The woman asked me to give you a message." "What message?" "She said, I knew you would come back. You promised." Jake laughed, and it hurt, but he did not care. Lissa had believed in him. Even when everything seemed lost, she had believed. "Thank you," Jake whispered. "Thank you for coming." "Thank humanity," Admiral Hayes said. "When we got the distress signal, I ordered an immediate response. 6 human warships against 6 Keth warships. The Keth took one look at us and ran. Why?" The Admiral's smile turned hard. "Because the galaxy knows what happens when you hurt the people humans care about. The Keth learned that lesson today. They will not forget it soon." Jake closed his eyes again. The machines around him beeped and hummed. The pain was fading, replaced by something warm and peaceful. He was alive. Lissa was safe. Mira was safe. Everything else could wait. As he drifted into sleep, Jake heard a small voice in the distance. A child's voice, demanding to be let in, insisting that her father needed her. He smiled. His family was here, and he would never leave them again.